pull up my little whiteboard so I can draw some things for y'all. Again, make sure to get that missing work in today. And then again, they're going to do an all call out about grades. I know you guys have access to Power School. You got your grades in Power School and your grades in Classroom. And so those of you that are doing well, you're doing well. For those of you who are not doing well, it's not a surprise. You're not doing well. All right. So what I'm going to talk to you guys about today is actually a very, very, very important concept in biology. It's called cellular respiration. Okay. And if you think about this word cellular respiration, cellular means we're talking about cells, and respiration makes us think of breathing. And it does have a lot to do with breathing, believe it or not. Okay. We need to breathe so that we can provide the necessary gases to our cells so they can accomplish cellular respiration. We also need to breathe to get rid of the gases that they produce, these cells, right? So the cells in our body need certain gases and then they produce certain gases, okay? So what is cellular respiration in a nutshell? Well, first and foremost, we need to recognize the fact that there's actually two different types of cellular respiration, okay? One type of cellular respiration does not require oxygen. So no oxygen is needed. And we call this anaerobic respiration. You may have heard this term before, maybe in your PE class when you were learning about exercise. Some exercises are anaerobic, like stretching or doing like the bench press, right? They're exercises, but they don't require us to breathe very much. We call those anaerobic exercises because they use anaerobic respiration. Now, there are lots of different types of anaerobic respiration. We're going to talk about that later. Today, we are going to focus on when aerobic respiration uses oxygen. So when we have oxygen, okay, it's a special type of respiration known as aerobic. Think like aeroplane, right? Old school name for an airplane, right? We need air, we need oxygen. So again, you've probably learned about aerobic exercises in PE. What are some examples of aerobic exercises? Running, swimming, cycling, rock climbing, basketball, things where you're needing to breathe heavy. That's aerobic exercises, and aerobic exercises uses aerobic respiration. Now, let's ask ourselves, what kinds of organisms are going to use respiration, right? Well, some organisms use aerobic respiration, some use anaerobic respiration, some organisms use both. In fact, our bodies can do both, right? And so all living things perform some form of cellular respiration. So all living things. And cellular respiration is a chemical reaction that allows us to break down our food, specifically glucose, right? That monosaccharide carbohydrate. Cellular respiration allows us to break glucose down for energy, right? That's why we need food, right? We need to eat carbohydrates, we need to eat lipids so that our bodies have energy. And I know that we chew it up and we have saliva, we have enzymes, and that breaks it all down. But once we break it down into glucose and it's floating around in our bloodstream, what do our cells do with it? How do they get the energy out of the sugar? That's cellular respiration. And most of our cells are going to use aerobic respiration. So let's talk about aerobic respiration just a little bit more. So let's first look at the chemical equation. What do our cells need to perform aerobic respiration? Well, the reason we call it aerobic respiration is we need oxygen. And we're going to use this oxygen to break down glucose. And if you remember the chemical equation for glucose, C6H12O6, right? So here we have oxygen. Here we have glucose, which is just a type of sugar. And during aerobic respiration, our cells take the oxygen and use it to break down glucose. And what we're trying to do is we're trying to get the energy out of the chemical bonds, right? If we break down glucose, we're going to release energy. But that's not the only things we release, right? We also release or produce water by breaking down glucose through aerobic respiration. We also produce a waste gas, and we exhale this every time we breathe. That's, that's carbon dioxide. That's carbon dioxide. Carbon. Oh, not meant to do that. Carbon dioxide, which is a gas. We exhale it, right? So we breathe in oxygen, and our bodies quickly use it to break down sugar, and then I release carbon dioxide and water, right? You know, you can see the water in my breath, right? It makes my glasses fog up. So you know that I'm producing it. But what we're really after here, the really important thing that we're trying to make is a special molecule that allows our bodies to transfer energy, and that is ATP. So ATP is like a little battery pack that our bodies use, right, to transfer energy. It's kind of like a little battery, right? So the coal burning power plant burns coal, produces electricity, and you put the electricity in your battery, right? So you can use it in your phone or a flashlight. Well, our bodies break down or burn glucose, right, to charge our little cell batteries called ATP. And the little ATP molecule can bounce around the cell, providing energy, right, directly to the proteins that need the energy, okay? And so again, just kind of review of like basic chemistry, oxygen and glucose are considered the reactants, right? So this is what we need to start the reaction. These are the two things our cells need to start aerobic respiration. And then these two things over here, or I guess technically three things, these are our products. These are what we produce as a result of the chemical equation. Now, if you remember, when we talked about photosynthesis, we talked about it happens inside of plants, right? We talked about how it happens in plant cells, and it happens in that special organelle known as the chloroplast. Well, in our cells, we also have a highly specialized organelle that allows our cells to perform aerobic respiration. And this highly specialized organelle is known as the mitochondria. You've probably seen the memes about the mighty mitochondria, right? Or heard, come across this in, internet humor, right? The mighty mitochondria is this tiny organelle inside of our cells that allow us to break down glucose to produce energy. Now, the neat thing about mitochondria is if you're an athlete, if you play a lot of sports, your muscle cells will actually have more mitochondria than the average person. Why is that? Well, because our bodies can adapt and change, right, to the stimulus, the things that we do to it. So when we exercise, we tell ourselves, hey, man, we like to do this. We do this often every day, and we need energy for it. And so your cell says, okay, well, I'll make more mitochondria, because the mitochondria is like the powerhouse of the cell, right? And so if our cells need more energy, they'll make more powerhouses, more mitochondria. And that's why exercise gives us energy. People who exercise frequently have more energy than people who don't. And you might be thinking, well, that's crazy, Mr. Collins. I already went to the gym this morning. I already worked out for an hour and a half, and then I'll be working out for an hour and a half later in the day. And you can clearly tell I'm bouncing off the wall. So how is it that I'm exercising 3 hours a day and I have more energy than someone that's not? Well, my body has adapted, right? It didn't happen overnight. The first couple of weeks and months of exercise, you're like, oh man, I'm exhausted. You have to give your cells time. And over time, your body will make more mitochondria and therefore more energy. The really neat thing about this, guys, is the number of mitochondria we have in our cells has a lot to do with the rate at which we age. They've done tons of studies. If we can keep our cells constantly making new mitochondria, we're going to be able to use lots of aerobic respiration. We'll produce plenty of energy for our cells. Our cells have all the energy they need, and our bodies will actually age more slowly. So exercise not only gives us more energy, it actually slows the aging process, right? And I'll actually be sharing a video with you guys later on in the semester about how our understanding of these simple concepts like the mitochondria can make our lives that much better. Now, let's see here. What else did I want to say about this? And you might be thinking, okay, well, maybe only animals do this. No, plants have mitochondria as well. Not all cells have mitochondria, though. And so, usually, if a cell does not have mitochondria, it will not be able to perform aerobic respiration and it'll have to use anaerobic respiration. And anaerobic respiration is a kind of respiration that I will talk about later that does not require oxygen. So that was just a really quick, short introduction of cellular respiration. Now, I did not talk about nearly all of the information that you need, right? And that's why it's in your PowerPoints. That's why I made those extra videos. This was just an introduction. Now, what I need you guys to do is I need you guys to not waste time. Some of you guys have a lot of missing assignments, and I need those as soon as possible. You guys need to realize I'm here to help you, but it's a two-way street, okay? You need to get this work done so I can get it graded, so I can get into power school. Right? I'm invested in y'all's success, but I need you to put forth a little more effort. So again, if you got a lot of missing assignments, focus on that today. Get those in by 1:30. If you're all caught up, then you can worry about your respiration vocab. Remember, tomorrow's a remote learning day. I'll send out some reminders about some things tomorrow, and then I'll see you guys again on Thursday.